Paul Ryan is learning just how difficult it is to run for higher office when you have a paper trail. Take the 2009 Stimulus Act, for instance. As recently as Thursday, Ryan was unequivocal, telling reporters he never, not once, advocated for stimulus money for his district.
A report came out again today in the AP. It was a repeat of that Wall Street Journal article from a couple of years ago where you had asked for stimulus money for your district. Is that accurate?
No,
Is that report accurate?
I never asked for stimulus. I don't recall that. I haven't seen this report, so I really can't comment on it. I oppose the stimulus because it doesn't work. It didn't work.
But paper trails are pesky things, Mr. Ryan. At least 5 letters from his office to the Secretaries of Labor and Energy have surfaced. They show Ryan not only advocating on behalf of companies in Wisconsin asking for money, they also show Ryan's office touting the jobs that can be created with the sort of stimulus money Ryan has opposed. So now in a statement released later Thursday, Ryan says, quote, "I didn't recall the letters earlier, but they should have been handled differently." Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Peter Welch of Vermont. Congressman, welcome.
Hi.
So here, how embarrassed should Congressman Ryan be that these letters, on the one hand, he was so adamant that there's no way, and then now these letters surface almost immediately?
Well, politicians have principles, and sometimes in practice they deviate, have elastic standards, and then amnesia is the refuge for an explanation. But, in all fairness to Paul Ryan, a lot of us, I think, have had situations similar to that. Where I think Ryan has got to explain things much better is why he supports the budget and why he thinks that the Ryan budget is good for America. And let me tell you, there's 2 reasons. Number one, his goal is to bring down debt. His budget increases the debt by $5 trillion in the next 10 years. That's really an astonishing explosion in the debt. Secondly, what he wants to do, he claims, is cut spending in major programs like Medicare. And he does that, but he doesn't reform Medicare. So there's no spending decrease in the health care system because we need reform in order to accomplish that. He simply takes the burden off the taxpayer balance sheet and puts it onto individual balance sheets. So he increases the debt. That's a problem. And he fails to reform either Medicare or the Pentagon. So those are the 2 things that over time in this campaign are going to be the big challenge.
Well, but he also says in his budget that he and Governor Romney, actually, that this is all about, the money trickling down and making sure we take care of those pesky job creators. And yet he wrote that the stimulus money would be used to, quote, place 1,000 workers in green jobs. And in another letter, he says stimulus money will be used to create, quote, or retain approximately 7,000 to 600 new jobs. So, again, he's talking about this budget, as you point out, has a number of cuts, but he says that's the way to stimulate job growth. And yet in these letters, he's saying stimulus will stimulate job growth.
Well, in fact, that's right. And President Obama pushed that. And here's the thing. In addition to having your cake and want to eat it too, I mean, he's wanting it both ways here. The bottom line is the stimulus did work. I mean, could things have been better? Yes. But would have things been much worse without any stimulus? They definitely would have been. And in fact, the so-called trickle down, he says if you give tax cuts to the so-called job creators, that's the new euphemism for wealthy. Mitt Romney would have a 1% effective tax rate. That'll trickle down to benefit the rest of America. In fact, there is some trickle-down benefit when there's public dollars used to build bridges, to repair roads, to extend broadband in our communities. Those are called investments where there's some broad-based capacity to put people to work in the effort to build those roads and bridges, and that it is going to be used by generations of people. So the stimulus, he got it right when he was advocating that some of those stimulus dollars be brought in his district.
He just didn't know that he was getting it right, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and there's another real problem here that you're seeing. The Republican agenda with President Obama from the moment he took the oath of office was to fight for failure. They wanted to derail, they wanted to dismantle, they wanted to disrupt. And in fact, Mr. Ryan did play a part in that. Mitch McConnell was really the most explicit about it when he said his job was to make President Obama a one-term president. So that language in the vote was one thing, but then when they could reap the benefits of that for his folks in Wisconsin, he did that. So there is some political doublespeak here.
There is political doublespeak, always in politics. Congressman Peter Welch, thank you very much. And coming up, the women on the front lines in the battle for the Senate.